Good morning and welcome back. Today we're going to do a quick and easy RAM analysis. We have a file in here. This is a kind of an older, smaller lab memory dump with the WannaCry virus in it. So I'm going to go to right click, open with. That pushes it over to the RAM tab. It's going to try to automatically determine what the OS is, and it sees that it is Windows. And right away, we're able to see that, yeah, there's the WannaCry. But a couple things when you're looking for malware, especially with processes, sometimes it's looking for things that are outliers. They don't look like everything else should. But let's say this is something interesting and strange. We're going to take a quick look to see what it's actually, where it's actually at as well. So we have 740. That is the process for this WannaCry. And then the parent process is 1940. So we go up to 1940 up here, and we see that there's a task-sched.exe. Task-sched.exe was opened up by 1636. The one up here, which is explorer.exe. So what most likely happened is somebody had a file on their desktop or somewhere on their system, and they double-clicked on it, and then it kicked off WannaCry. So a couple things. This is just run the PS list. Let's run a couple other interesting items. Let's do, quite far enough, PS tree. This does a little bit different view. Same information, but sometimes people like it a little bit better. I usually don't. But one of the benefits is you get to see what was actually running. But the other nice part is you get to see the PPID versus PID, or parent process ID, in a little bit more of a tree view type scenario. So if you go down to WannaCry here, right above it, you can see that explorer.exe, CTFmon, task-sched, and then WannaCry. We also see where it's at. This is the nice part about the PS tree parameter for volatility. And then we go to task-sched and same folder. So this would be a folder that we'd want to look at on that target system to see if it's actually an issue or not. So another thing we see, let's see, 740. Instead of doing all of the processes to dump, we're just going to check this one PID. And then during the checking process, it's running a few different things in the background. But again, what it's doing is it's pulling handles, doing a proc dump. It's going to be dumping the files into a hash file as well. And it also creates file names for the exports or the commands you just ran with a timestamp. Theoretically, RAM dump shouldn't change at all, but it does have it to where timestamped. And now with WannaCry, we see all the things that is tied to that specific executable. So again, we see it's the PID 740, so that it is interacting a little bit with the disk. We have this folder is something of interest. And that's primarily what you're looking for is information related to things that stick out for potential malicious activity, besides doing actual reverse engineering. Now when it dumps the files, these are going to be the file names. So we have dll.img, we have exe.img, and the reason they put these imgs and dats there is to make it to where you're not going to accidentally run it on a system. So do not remove those extensions, unless you're putting it into a virtual environment, sandboxed environment for doing actual analysis testing. Now, when we go into folder, let's go into evidence. Let's do RAM. WannaCry. And these are the commands that I ran, and I did run it a couple times just before this, make sure it kicked off properly. And towards the bottom, we also have a hashes report. So what this is a kind of relative easy report for if it was able to do a hash on those files. Now, if anybody can give a guess, these files had an error when it was trying to hash it. That was because my antivirus triggered right away on it. So then I can go back and then see what the AV said. So a couple good things about this. If all the items are dumped into a folder this way, you can run AV against it to see if there's any known malware. However, that is why we get an error right here, because it's not allowing, or the operating system's not allowing it for a security feature. If you had AV turned off, that would not be an issue. But the other nice thing is, these are clickable links for these hash 256 values. So you can actually click on it and then see if anything has been found within virus total. So it makes it a little bit nicer, easier to essentially play with. And again, most of this stuff is not going to capture because it's not malicious. Most of the items in here are going to be related to DLLs that are system DLLs that are not malicious. It's just the malicious software is using them. So in a nutshell, that is how you're going to be using the volatility interface within the CSI case management system. The first thing I just wanted to remind everybody of, when you add the image, it does try to detect or auto-detect the OS. And then if it finds it as being Windows, Linux, or Mac, you should already know what it is because you either captured it or somebody else captured it and there was documentation, right? If there's not, this kind of helps you make a better guess. If it doesn't capture anything, then you just can force what the OS is going to be. Depending on the OS, again, this is Windows. So since that's chosen, these are going to be all related to the Windows type of activities. You can also, again, pick Linux. That's going to allow options for Linux. So it does segment them out. And then with Windows, especially with Windows, there's several different versions of Windows. So unfortunately, volatility, not all of the parameters work for every Windows OS. So there's some that you might get some challenges on or issues with, especially when you're looking for things like, let's say, processes, or not processes, but go back to Windows, the network processes, anything with the net side. Unfortunately, sometimes does tie into OS-specific searching. And another one I do like is the good old service scan. Let's run that real quick. So this looks for persistence. So it's going to show all the services that are running, and then you would just cross-reference this with that Skegit or Tasked or the WannaCry if it happens to dump itself into a service. So the service would be running every time that the Windows system would pop up or turn on. Yeah, in a nutshell, it just makes using volatility a little bit easier. You have the evidence items, the output in your case folder, and then good to go with the report.